The web browsers that Link to Feed is compatible with are Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Safari for Mac users. It is not compatible with Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge for security reasons. When logging in for the first time, you're going to type in the email address that you provided to be set up and the password. When registering, you can use a fake email address. It's just that if you were to forget your password, you'll have to have another user reset it for you. If you forget your password, you'll be clicking on I forgot my password, and it will ask you for your email address. Once you put your email address in, a password reset email will be sent to you. Always make sure when logging in that you are on the live site when you're actually doing the live site. The live site looks exactly like this page, except the red banner will not appear. So I'm going to log in with my email and password. When logging in for the first time, you're going to be asked to change your password. So in the first field, you're going to type in the current password that you just entered. And in the second field, you're going to put in a new password. For the new password, you're going to need to put in a password that's at least 8 characters long, have at least 1 capital letter, 1 number, and 1 symbol. Click on Change My Password, and you will be asked to sign or agree to the licensing agreement, the end user licensing agreement. To read it in its entirety, you just click on this little plus button here, and it will expand to show you the entire agreement. Click on I have read and understand the terms of the Link to Feed end user software license agreement, and then click on Agree. If you click on Do Not Agree, you will be sent to the login page. This is a secondary login screen. This is only going to be shown to users who have access to more than one location. If you only had one location, or if you had an intake user who only had access to agency 4, for example, the system will bypass this page and automatically log them into that agency. For those that have access to more than one location, that this page will appear asking you what organization you want to log into. Keep in mind that you can always switch. So just because I select agency 1 now doesn't mean I can't change to agency 4 later. This page is what's referred to as the accounts page. The account system is basically what links our client intake, inventory, point of sale, and kids cafe system together. So if I have a pantry that has client intake and also does kids cafe programs, this is the area where I get to decide which one am I going to log into. So for most people, they just have one or the other. In that case, if you ever come to this page, you would click on client intake and you would be taken to the client intake side of Link to Feed. Link to Feed has 5+ ways in how to search for a client. I say 5+ because you'll notice that there are 6 on this page, but for the standard system, For those that do not have CSFP, there are 5. So first is client ID. Every individual in the household has a client ID number. If I have 5 people in my household, that is 5 separate client ID numbers. Depending on the organization, you may give a client a card that has this client ID number in it, so that is why some users choose to search by that. You can also search by date of birth. You can use hyphens. You can also use slashes or periods as well. Name is a very versatile field, so you can search by first name. You can search by last name. You can search by partial, so start typing in part of the person's name, even the middle of the person's name. You can search for the full name, so if you really need to narrow it down, with a comma in between. And you can also search by first and last name as well. You can search by address. So you can put in the full address of a client, or you can put in just a street, and it will bring up the possible matches. There is also searching by phone number. So start typing in the phone number and the search results will narrow down as well. For anyone who has a CSFP program, we'll show the CSFP tab later, but CSFP tab allows you to put in a CSFP ID, and that ID can be searched upon. This search includes every member of the household. So I have Olivia in my household. She's not the primary client, but her name will still appear. So regardless of who comes to the pantry to pick up food, their name will still show as an option. When adding a new client, it's always recommended to search for the client no matter what. Even if the client says that they have not visited before, still search for the client just in case. If you do not find their name, click on New Client to start creating a new profile. The client intake section is numbered from 1 to 4 with any possible additional specifications, any special tabs as well before you get to the services page. All required fields have a blue star beside them to show that this field must be completed before moving on to the next page. If a field is missing, the system will highlight the field to be completed. So we'll scroll back up to that field. After you've saved the page successfully, a pop-up will appear confirming that, saying success, just to let you know that your changes have been saved. If you try to make a change on the page but try to go to another tab, for example, without saving the change, the system will tell you that you have unsaved changes and ask you if you want to save it before you continue. First section is first food bank visit. This is the date the first time the client accessed any agency in the food bank network. This determines their first time user date when running reports. This helps so that if you're just starting to put data into the system, when you're running a report for the current month, the system is not going to think that everybody was a new client that month. So the option is unknown. unknown will end up taking the first food bank visit date as the first visit you record on the services page. Today will take the present date as the first food bank visit. And specific date is where you can go back and use our calendar widget, whether by your mouse or just manually typing in. You can go through and select the date. It can be approximate. It just helps for it not to be the current date if they're not actually a new client. This status here represents the status is pending. Although I have a client number here, they're still listed as anonymous because I haven't filled out the information yet. You can see here this yellow banner showing that new client records will be removed within 72 hours if not completed. So if I don't finish this up until the services page, their status will continue to be pending. If it's pending for more than 72 hours, it will remove the profile just to clean up any partial profiles in the system and to prevent any duplicates. Once the profile has been completed up to the services page, the status will change green and it will be active. If the client has not visited in 6 months or more, the status will change to inactive. They will be in what's called a forced review, where all these tabs will turn gray and the user will be forced to review the client's information before getting to the services page to record a visit. After the profile review has been completed, their status will change back to active. First name and last name are pretty straightforward. If there's a middle name or any type of suffix, you can enter that in any of the either fields. Date of birth, again, you can use the calendar widget, or you can just manually type in the date. Is date of birth estimated? By checking this off, it's basically for the user to verify in the next visit for them to get some type of proof of the actual date of birth. All drop-down lists like this one have a little search bar at the top. So if it's a long list, you can start typing in the word that you're looking for and it will select it for you. When entering the address, the system is going to look at the address of the organization that you are logged into. And as you start typing in the address, it will look for addresses in that surrounding area. Regardless of where it is, it will bring up the address that you're looking for. And you would just click on the option for it to automatically fill out sections. The Google map on the right will show where the client lives based on the address provided. If I zoom out a little, you'll be able to see Little House. That is representative of the organization. The system is going to show Little House for every organization within the food banks or every pantry, just in case the client may live closer to another one and not be aware of it. If the client does not have a fixed address or refuses to provide that information, you would just check off no fixed address here. Housing type is pretty straightforward. The housing type of the household. Email and phone number is optional, so you can add as many that apply, and there is a little section on the right to determine the type of the email or phone number. If you want to remove one, click on the red trash icon and click on the little radio button to the left if you've entered more than one and want to deem which one is the primary one. ID type. If ID type is required to be shown, you can set a custom list. So this is a custom list of ID types just on the test site, but you can have your own list. And you would just select the one that they show you. In this confirmation box, it's a text field and it's a free form. So examples of what clients have entered is maybe yes or no, their initials, or the date that they saw it. Languages spoken in the household. So this list will show all languages spoken across the world. The ones at the top represent what are called pinned languages, which are the primary languages spoken in all the pantries under the food bank. As you start typing a language, it will show up based on what you've typed. Referred by is also a customized list. You can only choose one. Ethnicity is a section where you can choose multiple. I choose as many that apply. If none apply, there is a not applicable section on the right. For self-identifies as, it's the same thing. You can select any that apply. If none apply to, you can select not applicable. There's also an undisclosed option if the client refuses to provide that information. Household members. So if there's any missing information, as I mentioned, the system is going to stop you from moving on and will force you to review that. Now for household members. So the household member has minimal information. We're still going to need the last name, the first name, the date of birth, where the age automatically calculates, the gender, the relationship, so how are they related to the main client, and then the same ethnicity and self-identifies as fields. Some pantries choose to record the ID type for every household member. If that's the case, you can also select ID type from this drop-down list. If not, you can bypass it and just save your changes. Again, if I don't fill out the information that's required, it will not let me continue. And here's my success notification. So once I've completed that, I will go to Save and Next. This is the Profile tab. This profile information that's being requested is only being requested of Lamar. That's whose profile I'm continuing to complete. So it's looking at more information about the primary client. Questions that are asked is highest education level completed. That is a fixed list as well. There's employment type. After completing that, you would click on Save and Next. Monthly income. This page will show all members of the household, regardless of age. The little star will appear beside the primary client's name, but it does not mean that you have to fill out income for the primary client. You can fill out income for whoever it applies to, and you can add more than one. So let's say for Lamar, he has a full-time job. By default, the monthly amount is 0. If you do not track that, it does not have to be completed. But if it is tracked, you'd put that there, and then you can add, again, more income sources for that same individual. You would need to select the radio button beside what primary income type is the one for the household. So although Lamar has a full-time and part-time job, maybe Brandon makes more, he's a consultant, or has a more steady income, so you can select that. There are also social services underneath each person's section of income, so you can just check off what social services apply to them. In the expenses section, if expenses are being tracked, you would click on add, just like income. From the drop-down list, which is customizable, you would select the expense type and put in the dollar value if that is something that is being tracked. The bottom section will show the monthly gross income, the total monthly expenses, and the monthly net income. The next section is dietary considerations. As you can see, there is no blue star beside that title, so it is a optional page. This is a completely customizable list, so you can add any considerations that should be any options that should be considered. If there are no allergies or considerations, you can continue to move on without making a selection. So you would click on Save and Next. This profile is now complete. So from personal to services, it should take only a few minutes to complete the client's profile, just based, it could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the size of the household. After that, the client's profile has been completed. If they are having a visit today, you would select a visit from this program list. So new pantry visit or any type of program types that are available. To record a visit. Next time the client comes, what you would do is you'd usually always be starting on the dashboard. So next time Mr. Johnson comes, you would type in his name. Here it is. Now this profile is active. The last profile review is recent, so it's today. I can jump straight to the services page to record a visit. If the next profile review is coming up soon, this will turn out yellow if it's within a few weeks. If it's in less than 2 weeks, this will turn red and shake on the page, just as a reminder that the profile is going to need to be reviewed soon. This allows you to tell the client that they might need to bring certain documentation for their next profile review. If you are looking to add a client who is already in the system, you'll want to go to the profile of the client you want to add them to, or the household you want to add them to. So I'm going to the primary client's profile, and then by scrolling to the bottom, click on Add in the Household Members section. Type in the person's first and last name, and the possible duplicate notification will appear if it matches anyone already in the system. If the first and last name were spelled incorrectly, the system will also still look at the date of birth entered after that to see if they match. So the system will look at the first name and date of birth, the last name and date of birth, and the first and last name. Click on See More, and the system will tell you this, from what I know, this is the date of birth of the client that I believe you're looking for. This is their address. It looks like they're living by themselves and they have not had a visit yet. Is this who you're looking for? Well, if you're not sure, you can click on View. View will allow you to see a full breakdown of the client's profile in view mode. With more information, you may be able to discern if this is the client you're looking for. So if I say yes, now I have the option to link or move. Moving means take the person out of the household that they are in and put them into my household. Link means keep them in the household they're in and have them share basically their profile and show them in my household as well. So moving has to do with individuals moving in and out of households. It does happen frequently. And linking is more of a joint custody situation where you want the child to show in both the mother and the father's profile. Regardless of what is selected, the system will ask you to select a relationship type from the drop-down list. Well, this is my sibling, and save, and it will take you back to that profile where it will confirm and by showing you that client has been added as a household member. You'll know if a client is permanent or linked. All permanent household members have a little icon to the left of their name. If it's a linked household member, there'll be a link button. There are situations where link has been used accidentally. That's fine. You would just remove the person from the household, and then when you add that same person back in, but click on the move button instead of the link button. Linked household members can be removed just as easily. You're unlinking from the household, and they basically are now in that one other household by 100% with the other household and not yours. So I've unlinked them and they're no longer there. If you need to remove a household member, you can remove them from the household that they're in, but they can't be completely removed from the system for data integrity purposes. So you would search for a profile of somebody within that household. For example, if I want to remove Mr. Smith, go to Mrs. Smith's profile. When you get to the profile, you will scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the trash icon of the client you're trying to remove, the household member. So Squash no longer lives with me, so when I remove from the household, the system will assure you again, like this is not going to be someone who's going to be deleted. A new household will be created for them. So if Squash Yellow were to return to the pantry, then you can just continue to fill out any missing information from their profile. By clicking on remove from household, the system will remove Squash Yellow from my household, and they will no longer show at the bottom of my page under household members. If a client is deceased, you can always set their profile to have a deceased status. This is something available to those who are agency managers and above. So you would search for their name. And when you get to their profile, there will be a little triangle arrow pointing down. This will only show for people who have the agency manager role or above. And by clicking on it, you can mark the person as deceased. The system will ask you if you're sure. It can't be undone, and the data will be kept. We're just removing the client from the search. And that way, if this person was a spouse or a friend or another household member of a larger household, there doesn't need to have these situations where the user asks the client where this individual is. So you would just click on Mark Deceased, and it will show you a summary of the client's profile as it was when you marked it. The client's profile can no longer be searched on. If a client's profile is in forced profile review, all the tabs at the top will be gray, and you'll be forced to review the client's full profile up into the services page before you can record a visit. The tabs at the top will be numbered, just like you were creating a new profile, but all the information previously entered about the client will still remain. You'll just have to go through each tab, scroll to the bottom, click on Save and Next to update any information that may need to be updated, or just to basically confirm that the client's information is still accurate. There are different reasons why a client's profile will need to be reviewed. In this case, this one is missing information. So missing information would show if the food bank was not tracking a certain field, but later decided to do so. So this client's profile could have been complete. As you can see, it is active, but maybe the food bank recently decided to start tracking marital status or referred by. In that case, the system's not going to default it to anything. The user is going to be forced to fill in that new information. Other reasons to review a client's profile would be inactive. So if the client has not visited within 6 months, this profile status will be set to inactive, and you'll have to review the client's profile. Merged profile, if the client was a duplicate and the profile was merged, the system's still going to ask you to review the client's profile just to make sure that what was merged was all of the right, accurate, up-to-date information. Removed from household. So if the client's profile was removed from a household, let's say that TJ used to live with Bill. Well, if TJ now lives by himself, well, where does TJ live? Is his income different? Maybe he got a raise and now he has enough money to live on his own. So you'll have to review that information just to make sure everything is up to date. And then lastly, there's a forced profile review. So in the system, there is a forced profile review set by the food bank. Usually it's 180 or 365 days, where even if the client has visited every month, you still have to review the client's profile. So if that's the case, no matter what, when that year or 6-month mark comes up, the system will ask you to review it. Each banner, when the client's profile needs to be reviewed, will tell you what the reason is. So if it's a merged profile, it will say merged. If it's someone who's been removed from a household, it will say that as well. So to review the profile, you can make any changes that apply and just click on Save and Next. As you can see, all the information is pretty much still there. So if there's no changes, just Save and Next. If there are changes, just make them as you go through it with the client. Any dietary considerations, no changes. If the client is not a CSFB client, like it says in the blue banner, just go directly to the services page. As you can see, the system deems this profile as being updated. So the last profile review will update to the current date. To record a pantry visit, search for the client's name on the search page, find their name in the drop-down list, and go to their profile. If it's an active profile, go straight to the services page. If you have to review the client's information, review each tab until you get to the services page. Click on New Pantry Visit. The summary box will be there for a reference. General visit details include the date, which will be defaulted to today's date, but it can be backtracked. There's delivery, yes or no, if this was delivered. What were the reasons for this visit? So you can check any that apply. Who from the household is receiving services for this visit? Depending on the program, not everybody's name may be checked off, but by default, everybody's name is checked unless the user unchecks it for a particular program. Food items provided is a customizable list where you can have them as boxes where you can put in the quantity or check boxes just to say that the client has received that. Putting in the quantity of items will add them up here. Any section can also include any additional details of what was provided. And then there are referrals if you've referred the client to any additional programs listed here. And then there's notes. If you have any notes that you feel may be applicable to the visit, you can record them here. If the note is marked as an alert, it will show the top of the client's profile, looking just like this. That way, if anyone needs to be made aware of something about this household, they can see it. Mark this note as private. If you're a pantry that's part of a large a food bank that has several pantries and you share the information, you can check that off if the information about this note is only pertinent to your organization. After doing that, you would just save your visit. And the details will show as the most recent entry on the visit history table. If this was a TFAP visit, everything would be the same, except at the bottom, you will be asked to, the client will be asked to sign the disclaimer for TFAP. Options include type signature, where you can just type it. There's sign on screen, where you can open a signature canvas that will open full screen. Signing with your mouse or your finger if on a touchscreen device. Hard copy, this allows you to check off at least that you have a hard copy on file. And then there is this crypto signature pad, which is an external device that is compatible with Link to Feed software. After selecting that option, you would click on Save. If any information is missing, the system will jump up to that area to remind you to fill it out. And after that's completed, your visit will be saved. It will appear in the visit history section on the services page. The Client Notes Review feature can be found under Clients and then Client Notes Review. This is a list of all notes from visit records and that were written on the Notes tab of client profiles. Filters include location, so which location the filter was created at, so the organization the user was logged into, when it was created, or where the visit was created. There's the start and end date, so this will capture all notes created within those between those dates. You can also filter by keywords if you're looking for a particular word. After putting in that information, you will click on Filter, and it will provide a filtered list. Network administrators can edit or delete notes directly from this list. So if it's just a quick cleanup, after looking for any notes that no longer apply, it's a quick way to delete the note instead of going to the client's profile. There are also tools available at the top, so you can copy the table, the list, the filtered list, download as a CSV, or print as well. If you try to add a client who's already in the system, there will be a pop-up notification asking the user if they're sure they want to add this client. So I entered Stephanie McLean only, and with that information alone, the pop-up notification appeared. If I had put Stephanie McLean but possibly spelled one of the names differently, so put MAC instead, but I did put the birth date as 1944-03-18, it would pop up as well. So the system's looking at the criteria of either first name and last name, first name and date of birth, or last name and date of birth. Once that pops up, if there is more than one, all of them will show. You will have to review all that pop up. So you would click on See More. This gives you a little bit of information about the clients you're about to add, and just to verify if they are actually a duplicate or if this is if that's not them. So we have, again, the date of birth, the address, other household members, and their last visit date. So using discretion, you can ask the client sitting in front of you if they have any other household members or where their last visit was. A lot of clients believe they have to re-register for every new location, which is probably why they might re-register with you. But you can see where they registered if it's a pantry under the food bank. And if that's them, you can say yes. If you say no, it will dismiss it and take you back to the profile that you're creating. If it's yes, it will take you straight to this Stephanie's profile. If you're not sure, click on View, and the system will leave this page and take you to a full view mode of the Stephanie's profile we think you're trying to add. Well, here is more information. The language is spoken, the ethnicity, the education. With that, you should be able to discern what if the client is a duplicate or not. And the system will say again, is this the client you're looking for? And I'll say yes. So we stopped the duplicate from being created, and now I'm in Stephanie McLean's profile, where I can update it if I need to, if any of the information has changed. When merging duplicates, it's hard enough to go on the client duplicates page every time, especially when you're in the middle of client intake. So if I'm typing in a client who's in front of me and I see client duplicates, I have to serve her first, and then when I have time, I'll go back to the client duplicates list and merge. There's a feature now for anybody who has the duplicate checker role, where if I do happen to go to a client profile that is on the client duplicates list, there will be a bar at the top of the page showing that this client is a potential duplicate. So right there and then, right before you search for use server, just click on merge. You're only going to be shown these two exact duplicates or any duplicates that contain this client ID number, where you'll have the ability to merge right there and then on the spot. So I will merge this one into that. If I merge this one, merge them on the spot. Always remember, click on view if you want to see the client duplicates side by side, just to make sure of which one should be kept, what's the right address, what any household members that she still has, the current email and phone number, when was it last updated. Those information will give you clues as to which one to keep. Once you've decided, you can merge the profiles accordingly. The intermediary page will show up to show you where what the client profile will look like after being merged. Know that no information will be replaced. So if the profile we're dismissing or discarding has a different address, it will not replace this one. But if it did have a phone number, it will be moved over here, just like the email address as well, it will be moved over. Once that information has been completed and you're satisfied with the way it's been merged, also note the amount of visits that will be affected. That basically means the visits will now be under this maintained profile. No visits are deleted even if you discard of a profile. You'd click on save and merge, or merge and save, sorry. And the client profiles have been merged. So the next time you go to that client's profile, there's a merge review where you do have to review the client's profile, but you've dealt with that merge right there on the spot. To merge duplicates, you'll first need access to do so. To see if you have access, you should find the Client Duplicates feature under the Clients section. If you do not have this role, you would have to ask another user with that role to provide access to you. They would have to go under Administration and then Users. Click on the Edit Pencil icon beside the user's name. Click on Edit User. And then make sure that the duplicate checker was checked off and save their changes. You will not need the duplicate checker role in order to see if possible duplicates show up when adding a client or household member. Any user will still see that option. The duplicate checker role is just the ability to be able to merge two duplicate profiles on the client duplicates list. To access the client duplicates list, click on Clients and then Client Duplicates. The client duplicates list is going to look different for different users. As a network administrator, I can see duplicates that are created from any location, regardless of the agency I'm logged into. If I was an agency manager or agency intake worker who has a duplicate checker role, I wouldn't have access to see as many duplicates. As someone who just has a duplicate checker role, you will only be able to see duplicates from the location that you have access to. As someone who has access to, if there's an agency manager who has access to live visits test, then they'll only be able to see duplicates where both client profiles were created at live visits test. Now there's a feature called cross merge. If that feature was turned on at the network level, that means that at least one of the clients would have to be created at live visits test, while the other may be created somewhere else. These features may account for the reason why you can see client duplicates in the system, but aren't able to merge it on your list. If you see two client profiles in the system, for example, Rita Vandertramp, but then go to the client duplicates page and don't see them, that's because neither of the profiles were created at your location. And that would be the instance where you contact your network administrator who does have access to merge the profiles accordingly. On this list, you'll see different columns. The client ID column, the first name and last name, date of birth, address, agency, and the name of the user that the profile was created by. In order for the duplicates to show up on this list, at least two of the fields listed in these four columns, first name, last name, date of birth, and address, must match exactly to be on this list. So in the first example, first and last name match, and in the second example, last name and date of birth match exactly. You can also, if you search, use the search bar at the top if you know there's a specific client that you're looking for whose profile needs to be merged. When merging duplicates and going through the process of merging them together, you should always use the view feature. Always view to compare both profiles side by side to see which one you want to keep, or if indeed, they're duplicates. There are a few tips that you could use to figure out which client profile should be kept. We do have a separate video just on duplicates alone. Information like the most recent client ID number created, the most recent date the client's profile was updated. So if it was a complete profile, then who got the most up-to-date information? If they had visited, what's the most recent date? Now the client profile has to be active in order to record a visit, so possibly the one that actually has a client visit would be the most recent one, and the date that it was put on the client duplicates list. If any additional information was created, and if you know exactly what the client's address may be, or if you're familiar with the client they're sitting in front of you, it should be able to discern which of the client's profiles should be used and kept. When you know which one to keep, you would close the window and you'd be taken to the client duplicates list. Now, if this happens to be a coincidence, there's actually two Rita Vandertrams. One does live at 12 Club Drive and the other lives at 15 Ace Road. You can dismiss the pair. You're telling the system in this case, these are not client duplicates, it's just a coincidence. Do not keep them on my client duplicates list, and they do not need to be merged. If you know which one to keep, you're going to click merge on the one you want to merge into the other client profile. So let's go find another one here. We'll go with A and A. So I want to keep the first one, which means I'm clicking merge on the bottom one to merge it into the first one. So the profile is going to show on the left side what the merge profile will look like. So what the system is going to do when merging client information is it's going to fill in any blank fields. It will not replace though. So for example, if the other profile I'm dismissing has the address of 13 BB Street, this one has 13 AA, it will not replace it, it will keep whatever's in this profile. However, if the other profile had this second phone number, it will move it over. Same thing with income and expenses, it will move over any of that, but it will not replace any information. If there are any additional household members, the system is going to ask what you want done with them. So for example, if this profile had another household member, like a spouse, the system will ask if you want to move that spouse into the merged household or leave them in a household by themselves. It will also tell you how many visits will be affected, which means no visits are actually deleted from the system. When you're merging the client, you're just moving the visits from that profile into the merged profile that you're going to keep. You click on merge and save. Now, although the system has shown you an intermediary page of what the client's profile is going to look like, it's still going to put this profile into a forced review. So if I search now for AA, I am now in a merge review, which means the system's going to ask you to review the client's information the next time they visit, just to make sure everything was merged accordingly. It's possible that a mistake was made when the client's duplicates were dismissed. Duplicates can be dismissed during client intake, so when you're creating a profile and it looks similar to one that's already in the system and the user says no, that dismisses that profile. So if you cannot find a profile on this client duplicates list or two profiles on the client duplicates list, but you know there's two in the system, always check the dismiss list. This dismiss list counts as a list of anything that was dismissed on the primary duplicates list or dismissed by the user during intake when the pop-up came up. Here's the original Rita Vandertramp example that I mentioned before that I had dismissed earlier. I made a mistake. This is actually her old address. This was her new one, and date of birth was wrong. So if anything like that happens, you can always undismiss. The system will put that duplicate back on the client duplicates page, where now you have the ability to merge them accordingly. To run a statistics report, go to Reports, New Report. Click on New Report under Statistics Report. Select the title of the report. Select if you want to share just with you or with people within your network. Scheduling options are available. If you just want to run a one-time report, then you would leave this section alone. If you want to plan and schedule the report to be daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly, you would select one of these options and then select the date you want it to start on. So if today happens to be a Tuesday and you want it to start on then the following Monday, you would select that date that you want it to start on and the time. So the time is because of depending on what time your food bank opens or closes, just to make sure that we get all the stats that we need. For the following time period, if scheduling a report, then you're going to use this dates are section to cross-reference with the to be run. So if I'm running weekly, it'll be last week. If I'm running monthly, it'll be last month. If I'm not scheduling a report, and it's once only, I can still use this dates are section as kind of like a cheat sheet where I can just click on last month and it'll automatically take the last month's dates. If you need specific dates, you can always select in between here as well. For the following organizations, so you can select any that apply. You can select all or deselect all, depending on what you're looking for. And then there are options to aggregate data or include anonymous visits. So for aggregating the data, if I select more than one organization and I check off aggregate report data across the selected agencies, it means if a client has visited both or more than one of those locations, they will only be counted once. If I unselect it, then the system's going to give me individual stats for each location. Include anonymous visits will just add an additional row for any stats that have anonymous visit information in it. There's also for the following groups. This is where you can this is where the report groups will be listed. You can create a report group under the organization group section. For the following program types, all programs in the system have a program type assigned to it. So there could be several agencies that are pantries and TVAP, but if you want to report on them separately, you would run them as separate reports. Otherwise, if you want to get all stats, you can select all as well, or maybe get all stats except that for the Christmas program, you can do that. And then there's with the following report sections. So there's a select all option, select all that are client specific, all that are household specific or visit specific. Each section has a title, and if you hover over it, it will describe what that section represents. Just a quick tip, client represents that client's profile that you were in when the household was served. Partner represents the partner in the household that was served. Individuals represent a stat of all individuals served, not just the household. And then household represents the count of the entire household, not just the individuals. If you select duplicated, if the same client visited 5 times, they'll be counted 5 times within that reporting period. If they visited 5 times and you selected a unique option, then they will only be counted once. So you would select any of the stats that you need and then click Create Report. When you run your report, you'll be brought back to the report inbox page. You'll need to refresh the page in order to see your report. It may refresh right away, or it may take a couple minutes for it to complete depending on the size of the report. So you click on the dark blue button to view the report. There's a report content section at the side. This will allow you to scroll through the sections that you've selected for the report, and you can jump through to certain sections that you may be looking at. Each section will have a table, and it will indicate if it's a unique or duplicate count, or for a client, or for a partner, or for individuals or households. In the table, the light blue heading will be the title. In dark blue, there will be the description of that section. The agencies will show on the left side. If it's a network aggregated report, then you'll only see one label for the name of the network. And the rightmost column will show the total. If there happens to be too many options listed, there is an enable scrolling tool that will allow you to scroll further to the right. There's also a tools option where you can copy the table, download as a CSV, save as a PDF, or print that section specifically. Where applicable, each section will have a donut graph or a bar graph. You can click on Convert to PNG in order to download the graph. If you want to print the entire report, there's a print view option at the top to print the whole thing. To print an interactive household report, go to Reports, click on New Report. Click on New Report under Interactive Household Report. Select a title for your report. Decide if you want it just for your purposes or shared with other users in the network. You can schedule your report, so you can decide if you want it to be run daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And then you can select the start date of that schedule. For the following time period, you can select the dates. So by default, I can just really quickly do last quarter. Or if you're looking for specific dates, you can select them here. You can select the organizations. If it's all, you can click that select all button, or you can hand pick and check off specific sites. There's also for the following groups. These are lists of organization groups that were created and listed here. Select for the following program type, so if you want to report on just one program or all of them, and then you'd create your report. You'll be taken back to the report inbox. Your report has been queued. It may not be ready immediately, depends on the size of the report, but you would just need to refresh it in order to see it. You'll know it's ready when the status has a green check mark, and you can click on the dark blue button to view the report. There are several sections in the report, so you can always use the report content section on the side to scroll down to a specific area that you may be looking for. All sections show in a horizontal bar graph and a data table below. The graph will total up the top 8 items, so it may not equal exactly to 100%. The system is running this report based on unique individual counts only. You can choose this view, or you can choose the grouped view here. The neat part of the report is the ability to pivot. So if I want to see information about people who are veterans, I would click on that section of the graph, and the report will rerun to show me information just about those individuals who have self-identified as veterans. So according to this report, over 50 are over 71 years of age. So if I want to look more deeper, if I can also click on more than one pivot, so I can look at those that are veterans but live in Ferndale, and the system will run the report again. All filters will show at the top here, which will give you the ability to remove all of them, or just one if you want to play around and look at demographic information about people visiting a certain site. When looking at the report, you can also eliminate certain sections if they don't apply. So for example, if we are looking at dietary considerations and I don't want to count other in my graph, if I click in that little circle, it will reformat and recalculate the percentages without other included. There's a tool section where you can copy, download as a CSV, save as a PDF, or print the table here. If you want to print this graph, you can convert to PNG and then download it as an image. To create a heat map report, go to Reports, click on New Report, click on New Report under Heat Map Report. Type in the title of the report. Select if you just want it shared with you or if you want it shared with people in your network. If you want to schedule the report, then you can access this section here, where you can schedule it daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Whatever you select, you can also choose the day and time that you want to start on. So you may want to do a daily one, but starting next week. For the following time period, for dates are you can use this as a type of cheat sheet where instead of putting in the specific dates, you can just select last fortnight or last month, and it will automatically take last month's data for you. If you do need a specific date, Depending on your fiscal year, you can also select them here. For the following organizations, you'd select any that you want to report on. For the following groups, these are the organization groups listed here that you can set up instead of having to select the same organizations that are grouped together. You can report on specific program types. Each program in the system under an agency has a program type associated with it, or you can select all. And then you can select markers if you want them shown on the heat map report. So if you want the icons of where the agencies are. And you can select it's showing data for one option. So there's household age group, and then you can see a breakdown of a particular age only. Female clients, male clients, transgender clients, those that have undisclosed gender, or unique households, students, or total visits. So the system, when you're creating the report, is going to look at the zip or postal code of the address of the client that is visited. You'll be taken back to the report inbox, and you may need to refresh your report a couple times as it's being run. You'll know it's been completed when there is a green check mark. Click on the dark blue button to view the report and open it. The system will present a Google Maps. You can use it just the way that you'd use regular Google Maps, where you can zoom in and out. This was chosen to show markers of where the organizations are. The darker areas are where the clients are coming from and where the visits are. To print a report like this, you can click on how do I print a heat map report for instructions in the user manual on how to do so. To schedule a recurring report, go to Reports and New Report. Select the report that you would like to schedule. Click on New Report under that report's name. Create a title. So a lot of this is similar to creating a general new report, except one specific section. You'll want to keep this just for you, just so that only you get the report on this periodical basis. And then what's important that's going to change is the I want to schedule the report section. So to be run, select the desired recurrence. So I'll do monthly. And when do you want to start on? So it could be, in this case, the middle of the month. I want to start the first of the next month. And then I want it to run in the evening, so that time is fine. And then when you go to dates are, I'm going to look for last month, which basically means on the 1st of September, I will get the previous month's data. So I will get the data for August. And in October, I'll get the data for September. For the following organizations, you would select all the organizations you want to report on in the recurring report. You can always click on Select All. There are also groups that can be created, where instead of handpicking specific groups, you can group them, handpicking specific organizations, you can group them together so you can only click on the group once. And then what program types you want to report on. So you click Create Report. This is not going to be run in this instance for a couple weeks, but it has been scheduled. So it is going to show in your report inbox. So this is queued. That specific placeholder will stay in your inbox until you choose to delete it. This means it's a recurring report. The title will be the same, so on the following month, I'll get an email in my actual email inbox that says my recurring report is ready. and it will tell me to log in to see it. Under recurring reports, under the reports heading, you can see a schedule of any of your open recurring reports, when it was last run, when it's next scheduled to run. That's a daily one that's scheduled to run tomorrow. Here, mine hasn't run yet for the first time. If you want to cancel it at any time, this is where you would delete those reports. There are 3 places where you can see messages: at the top right, at the top left, or under the messages section here. If you have any messages, this would be green and it would show the number of messages that you have. I don't have any, and I can go to my message inbox from here, or again, I can go to messages and I'll get to the same page here, the messages inbox. To send a message, I would click on new message. It's a pretty standard format, just like email. So I can set an importance. Note that for the importance, the urgent importance will cause the message to show up on the user's screen, and they have to click on I acknowledge I have read this message in order to dismiss it and continue on using the system. If they just click out of it or maybe click, escape, it will pop up right again. Recipients include all recipients within the network that you have access to. You can send it to an entire organization if you're a network administrator, or you can send it to your users as well. There needs to be a subject and then a message, and then you can send off the message. There's a sent folder on a messages page where you can see any messages that you sent and to who. By clicking on the folder icon, you can review the message you sent, but you can also see a list of those you sent it to and if they've read it. So I've sent this to 3 Stephanies, and she has yet to log in to read, or she has logged in but just hasn't read my message. In your inbox, just like any other message, when you open it, so if I go to my inbox, I can delete a message if it no longer applies, and when I open and view it, there's a reply all, and a forward button. And it'll take you right back to the page of creating a new message, where you may want to add other recipients or change it or forward it to somebody else. And it'll also show you the original message. When adding a user, only agency managers and network administrators can do so. If you need to add more than 5 users, you can complete a user upload form that can be found in the user manual and send that to support@linkedfeed.com in order to upload it for you in the back end. If you need to add fewer than 4 users, you can do so manually by going to Administration and then clicking on Users. There are 2 blue buttons that are used frequently when it comes to users. The light blue circle here means password reset, where the user will be sent a password reset email. And the second one, which is a little wand, means says change password, where you can manually change the user's password on the spot. If a user is locked out, you will be able to see a third icon, which indicates that they are locked out of the system. In order to unlock them, just click on the lock icon and it will disappear and automatically unlock the user. Users are usually locked out if they try logging into the system more than 3 times and have done so incorrectly. When changing a user's password, know that they can't use the most recent password that they had. This system will force them to think of a completely new password, whether it's being reset or whether it's the usual 6 months between changing passwords. They cannot use the most recently used one. I'll review this with an existing profile. So the first page you'll see when adding a new user will be this one. Owning organization. This is the main organization the user should have access to. If the user should have access to multiple organizations, you will set the owning organization as the network level. They don't have to be a network administrator to have access to the network, nor do you have to give them access to the specific network organization in order for them to have access to different agencies. There's a separate page that lists all the sites that they can have agencies that you would check off. First and last name are pretty straightforward. Email, username. This does not have to be a real email address, but if it's not, the user will have trouble receiving password reset notifications. When creating a new user, the next that would show right under here would be the password. So note that the password has to be at least 8 characters long, have at least 1 uppercase letter, at least 1 number, and 1 special character. The list after that would be roles. Any roles that are blocked off are not accessible to be given by this user. Users cannot provide roles that they do not have access to themselves. The definition of each role can be found in the user manual under the support heading. After checking off the roles that person should have, you would scroll to the bottom and click on Save and Next. Locations is a page of all the organizations under the network, but this shows all the sites under the network, and you don't necessarily have to check off the network. Save and Next. Assigned applications. So usually it will only be one, either Intake or Kids Cafe, but there are some food banks who have both. So this provides permission for the user to access agencies that have that application. Save and Next. Next is the intake permissions. By default, most users just check off all. If you check off all, know that this includes all the tabs here. But there are some locations that want the user to have access to only a specific tab in the client profile, or want to hide certain tabs from the user that aren't relevant to them. Attendance permissions are separate, so I may enable this here. Do make sure that it is enabled under the organization as well. Programs will list all the programs from all the organizations that you've said that the user should have access to. There's a select all and deselect all button for quick reference. And Save and Next. Reports include all the reports available to the organization or that the organization has access to. Only users that have the reporter role would be able to access reports. If the user I created did not have the reporter role, there would be a yellow banner at the top indicating that if you check this off, you will need to check off the reporter role in the client's profile. Save and next. There's a miscellaneous tab with more specific preferences that are available. First is preferred site theme, default or high contrast for people with visibility difficulties. There's preferred time zone, which is defaulted to be automatically the same as the agency that you have access to. Preferred client tab. So as soon as you search for a client's name, when you click on the profile, what tab do you want to go to? And then preferred search the quick search refers to the search at the top right. What method do you want to use to search in this box? By clicking on Save and Next, it will take you to a summary of the client's profile that you've created. If you ever want to edit a user or remove them, click on Users from the Administration tab. Find the user that you want to edit. This could be giving them a new role or restricting roles from them. You would click on the orange edit icon, edit user, and then check off any roles that they should have and save your changes. If you need to provide access to a user who doesn't have permissions to a new site, you would click on Locations. Make sure that that agency's name is checked off, the new one, Save and Next, and continue to click on Save and Next if nothing else has changed in between those pages. But what you're looking for is the Programs tab. So although I checked off Agency 6, I need to also make sure that I have access to the programs in Agency 6 as well. And then I would save my changes. To deactivate a user, you would click on Administration and Users. Click on the edit icon beside the user's name. Click on Edit User. And under Enable, just change it to No and save your changes. There are 3 support options directly in the system. You can find it under the Support heading on the left side of the page. There is New Support Ticket, and this option is available only to network administrators. If the user roles you have does not contain the network administrator one, you will not see this option. There's also the user manual. There's a search area where you can search by keyword. There's also a navigation on the left side that's pretty much in the same order as the navigation in the system. There's also a support video section that everybody has access to. That's where you'll find other videos like these. The videos are short clips like this video, and they are basically mirroring the instructions shown in the user manual.